Hey, this is Heather from the Renaissance English History Podcast, and this is your Tudor Minute for July 5th. On July 5th, 1589, Joan Coney was hung as a witch in Chelmsford in Essex. Some of the most vulnerable women to witchcraft accusations would have been older widows who lacked protection from a husband or sons. While men could be accused of things like treason, the vulnerability of women was to witchcraft accusations. Even queens were not immune, and in some cases, like that of Henry V and his stepmother Joan of Navarre in the early 15th century, they were actually even more vulnerable because their children would want a way to get at their lands. Henry V took Joan's lands and imprisoned her for years. A century later, in the 16th century, Anne Boleyn would be accused of witchcraft and placing a spell on Henry VIII. Indeed, powerful women could be accused of witchcraft just as regularly as the older, vulnerable widows. In 1542, Henry passed a Witchcraft Act, which was then replaced in 1563 by an act against conjurations, enchantments, and witches, and the Elizabethan authorities were growing fearful of magic and witches during this time period. Joan, who was hung today, July 5th, was said to be 80 years, so about 80. Her grandchildren gave evidence against her, saying that she had gone to a Henry Finch's house, asked for something to drink, but Henry's wife was busy and told her she couldn't give her anything to drink. So Joan went away, angry and discontented. That night, Finch's wife got sick and had a terrible pain in her side, and she died a week later. That was enough to damn Joan, with the evidence of her grandchildren, who were about 12 years old, and Joan died today, July 5th. That's your Tudor Minute. Remember, you can dive deeper into life in 16th century England through the Renaissance English History Podcast at englandcast.com.